Just a point of update. I'm still stuck here in Nevada because I had a unfortunate incident dealing with one of the states here in the United States that has a very bizarre process that I wasn't made aware of by the person who sold me the car. As a result, I have to wait because these jokers they're open on the weekends, but only if you're physically in the state, which I am not, which means I have to wait till at least Monday till I can get that sorted out. Then that requires a phone call, which means I'll be sitting on hold for 5 hours. Then, presumably, I have to wait on physical mail, and I don't know how long that will take. And until I get the physical mail, theoretically, I can't go. Now, once I trigger the process, I can go, but there were other situations with the car that came up to the point I was this close to going down to a dealership and just buying a different car, straight cash. I was this close. I had to hold back temptation. So, for right now, I'm still stuck here. That unfortunately means I got to pay yet another rent payment, not just for the new place, because I still have the new place is already done, but also for my current. I didn't mind the new one, but the current one, I didn't really want to pay them. That was what the timing was all about. But I got screwed by the first vendor, first week of January. And then that caused this domino effect that screwed all other plans as I need to get realigned, get recalibrated and everything else. And then so now that that's done, all my stuff, not all, but 90% of my stuff is in storage. At least that's done. I still have other things like my internet. That's another vendor that screwed up. My power things like my backup power and my smart stuff, my security stuff, my home office stuff, the stuff I'm talking to you on. Some of it's in storage, not all of it. I still kept the podcast thing because of this fiasco. So I've got 90% of my stuff in storage. Then I got to do a junk clean out. Well, I can't really justify that because I'm not really leaving yet. So again, this one vendor screwing the pooch, then everything gets a screw out. So for right now, I'm stuck here, not going to be doing weekly stream because my video equipment is in storage. That's part of the reason why I can't. I could do audio all I care to. I can't do video. So I am going to be doing a couple of video updates to YouTube. This is because it's near and dear to my heart as somebody who's covered it on cryptotalkradio.net before on multiple occasions and didn't hear from the vendors, the devs, they didn't want smoke, but I need to talk about it. So Everrise. I've covered the Everrise ecosystem. The Everrise ecosystem was at one point part of my Fave 5. In fact, on a couple of occasions, it's been in my Fave 5. And I actually had somebody on YouTube channel that asked the question, tell me why you're bullish about Everrise. And I said, it's pretty self-evident. The utilities they were creating. And also at the time anyway, they seemed like they had their heads on straight. Something's changed. And I'm putting this out because I'd love to hear from the community about what it is that I don't know. Because as I've said, I don't go to Telescam and I will not do. But I'd love to hear from the community as to what the hell has changed, because I'm not seeing the same level of strong sentiment positive that I once saw. And I'm not seeing that there's encouraging, momentum outside of the pumps that they're benefiting from. Ethereum as an example. The market cap looks like it's in a horrible spot. The volume's way down. Like if I look at everything overall, I don't see that Everrise has anywhere near the momentum that it once did. And I'm struggling to understand why the Everrise team is nowhere near as communicative, at least on CoinMarketCap's community. Jen used to be all over that damn thing. Hardly see anything from them. Then I saw some messages on the CoinMarketCap community. That's what I want to also share. Because if somebody has some insight who does go to Telescam, I want to first verify what I'm hearing. Second, if you have some insight or if you heard something or what the hell, I'd love to hear it. Because again, this was a project that felt like it could not be stopped under the current momentum. So something went weird. User Crypto Bull says, quote, Rise, it's never been the same since Jen Everrise left. So Jen is the person who registered the account on CoinMarketCap. Her name is right there on CoinMarketCap as the owner, quote unquote, of the project for the community representation. So then this person says that Jen left the project. Now, again, I've never been in Telescam, didn't know anything about it, but I did know that Jen was pretty hot and heavy on CoinMarketCap, messaging back and forth with people. I don't know why, and I'd love to know why there was a departure of this kind for the person who was the direct, you're the direct contact here for this project. If somebody has some insight, I'd love to hear it. Do you have something that tells us what was there some falling out? Was there did any information get shared? Does anybody know anything about this specific departure that we can tie back to a root cause? Was it that she was forced out? Did she quit? That kind of thing. If anybody has that, I'd love to hear it. Hit us here at the bottom on the comments or cryptotalkradio.net and hit the contact form. Now, this other user gave a bit of note. User Team Crypto says, quote, Jen was a joke and made them bearish. Well, why? What joke? Why? Bearish? Why? Why would a representative of the project, who's the primary representative for the token, make them bearish? Unless Jen was a conservative approach, as in we need to take it steady and take this correctly. And then all of a sudden you got different people coming in, which I'll get to in a second, who are just like bald Russ on Lily, where they're just trying to push and shill and push and shill, which is not the right answer. I'd love to hear. That's why I'm asking for that feedback, because if it turns out that Jen was the conservative, steady is the way to win the race and build strong utility and kind of take it as course and wait out the bear. If Jen was taking it as a conservative approach, to me, that's the loss of Jen would explain what I'm seeing. Because if all we did was push towards this garbage, every project fails when you do that. And I don't know why. I understand why certain people like that, but it's not the right answer. So then going down the comments, there was another note on here that said that they got rid of the devs and they switched the devs around. And I wanted to understand that a little bit better, because the devs that they had in place seemed like the best possible devs you can have. Again, I talked about the utilities that are outside the crypto bubble. Every utility that was released was outside the crypto bubble. They were pushing, they were forcing the notion that we need to appeal to the long-term state of cryptocurrency. You can see this in all of them, from Everbridge to EverOwn to EverMigrate, EverLock. You can see it in what they were building at the time anyway, that whoever it was, they seemed to get it. And so it feels like something has shifted either in the mindset of those devs or the devs themselves have changed. I'd like to know that as well. There was a message, I can't find it now, but there was a message that implied that the devs got changed around. So then this was in December. User Philip Camilleri 079 says, quote, I'll be dumping my 500 billion for sure after my staking period. So 500 billion, to put in perspective, is not a lot. It used to be. It's not a lot. I'm trying to think off top of the head, because like $100,000 is $20, so it's not a lot. But Philip Camilleri 79 makes it seem, he says also, quote, you guys are doing no AMA and the team's gone. That's what I'm talking about. Team gone, what does that mean? And then it says operating from India too shady. From what I knew, Everrise always had an India presence, but not solely. It wasn't their primary. But I don't know. I'm asking the question. So then, going down the list here, Philip Camilleri said, they fired the team. Clearly states they have dark money. I don't know what that means, but they said they fired the team. What does that mean? I don't know. User The Cookie Monster says, quote, literally AMAs every week. The company's in the USA, which is I understood, and then presence in India, I understood, for development. I understood that as well. Now, here's what Philip Camilleri got a little bit weird. So Everrise is a V3 now. Everrise, when it was V1, they shifted to V2, which then they changed the supply. They then, in the V2, that was when they introduced the staking and everything else and started ramping up. So some of his numbers are probably from when it was a much higher supply. Now, at a point, Everrise had what they called a hyperburn. That was the reason for the logo and rise, right? It was, we're going to go up. We're going to pump, essentially. They got rid of that in V2. So there no longer was that excessive burn happening under the hood. The initial V2 contract then gets breached. And the only thing that got breached was the rewards part. They didn't breach people's stake directly, just the rewards you would have gotten. And so they go to this, they migrated again, which is the current one that we're at. So the numbers he's talking about is likely from the previous, not from the current. But he's talking about, okay, I've got a lot now and I migrated and I staked it, and he's going to, after it unstakes, which some people staked for the whole, 2 years or whatever it was, then he wants to cash out and dump it because he doesn't he doesn't feel the same level of communication. That's what I'm talking about. It seems like they've just gone silent, and as a result, there's nothing happening, and I'm not sure. And I'd love to hear from the community about what's going on. User Orion911 says, quote, this token's rank was exactly 539th after approved by CoinMarketCap. Now look at this. I don't mention about bear market, but a decrease in rank means losing its influence over time. He says time by time, but he means over time. User Dangerous Stop 7502 says, quote, for sure, it's not a garbage project, but the price is. I don't understand the massive price decline, as this for sure is one of the best projects, which again, that's my impression has been. From a project perspective, it felt like they were one of the best out there. And I'm not really sure why. I don't fully understand it. And I'm asking the community for this. Talking about the CoinMarketCap ranking, he's correct in the sense that the ranking with a significant decline does correlate to a loss of influence. It means that people are less influenced or excited about it. Now, it's on major watch lists, but it's down to rank 700. This was a project that was steadily high in the rankings consistently, regularly. So something has changed. I don't know what's changed because, again, I don't do telescam and refuse to, will not do. But I'm asking the question for anybody that's out there, what you know. If you know something, please share it so that we can understand better. If there's something directly we can correlate to the decline of this thing, because it felt like it was unstoppable at one point. In closing, I want to talk about some of the stuff they built in here. So they did the whole staking, NFT staking, and I did some of those, and I've been able to complete, I think, 3 or 4 of them. And that was good. But then the price started steadily declining to an unreasonable degree. Like, it was pretty bad. And it's not fully recovered to where I would expect it to be, which I suspect is a symptom of getting rid of the hyperburn. Can't say for sure, but that's what it feels like. Well, then I happened to notice that they released this, what they call the, what is this, riser bots, I believe it is, garbage. So what they said was that this riser bots, it's a set of NFTs that they have in somewhat limited supply that are supposed to help protect this new NFT marketplace. So this tells me that they're going all in on NFTs. This is contrary to what I would expect them to do. Now, they've talked about NFTs pretty frequently, but at no point do I recall that there was a focus on building a marketplace for NFTs. And it's not outside the crypto bubble anymore. So this might be explained by a shift of people who, just like with Or2 Imperium, which is a token I covered way back, the initial leader, he was very conservative. He took a very steady approach. He asked me to look at the white paper. I gave him feedback that everybody in the community agreed with my feedback in terms of the direction they should have taken. Owner quits or something happens, somebody else comes in and they start focusing on NFTs. So I'm seeing a pattern here, my point, where these devs shift and then the new devs, everything, all they care about is NFTs, and we just got to do NFTs because in their mind, it's easy money. I don't agree with it. Certainly not for Everrise. To me, Everrise should have stayed the course, and whatever has happened, and I truly want to know, whatever has happened, I believe is going to be very harmful to this project. And if they don't course correct back to what got them to the dance in the first place, I don't see good things in the future for a project that at one point had a strong potential to surpass everything out there. So people that are staked in there, obviously you're stuck. You're stuck watching your stuff go down. And the other point is the rewards you get for staking. If you didn't know, they released as part of the V2, they said, okay, we're going to take the V1 liquidity and we're going to redistribute it to the V2 when the V2 came up. Well, here's the problem. They built this as a game. So inside of the tool, and I don't know that they communicated this very cleanly, but inside of the tool, it's almost like a validator mechanic that's gamified. So what they assumed is we have this pool of liquidity from V1. We're going to redistribute it to all stakers in V2. So that's people who minted staking NFTs. People assumed when they announced this that that's just an automated, great, that's pretty cool. Then they released this claim process inside the tool. The claim, the way it reads, is it makes it seem like this, let's say 100,000 rise, or in some cases 1 million rise. It's like You have to wait a countdown. So it'll be 20 every 24 hours, it cycles, and it's usually keyed off of a different time zone. So anybody in the United States, you'd have to get up at like 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. to hit it. Then it lights up a different button. You hit that button. That button then approves, quote unquote, and then it creates a claim, the right to claim. The right to claim, then you hit another button and it wants to mint an NFT, a different NFT. What that does is it takes 100 Phantom, which of course right now is about $50 ish, but you can imagine if we were not in the bear, how much higher that would be. And then 10,000 Rise. Of course, Rise is crapping, so that's not so bad. In order to mint this other achievement NFT, but that also kicks off a process that does the distribution to everybody on that chain. Each wallet can only do that one time per chain, according to what it said in the notes. But this is triggering the distributions that you see when you go to rewards up top. So it's not an automated process like initially promised, or it's in addition to the other automations that were in place when they did the initial staking build. Well, the problem I have with this is that, number one, I don't know if they clearly explained that to people. Maybe they did. I didn't see it. I checked all the notes. They're pretty good about noting things. I didn't see very clear notes that say, we need people to do this claim process. Second, if you need people to do the claim process, I don't know why it made any damn sense to tie it to a 24-hour cyclical engine, as opposed to just basically saying, okay, maybe every 5 hours or something, to where it was, because it's V1 liquidity. It's not like you're adding to it. So what the hell's the problem? That's the other issue. So I'm not sure that people really know that's there. I know that on the Phantom chain, people aren't doing it. I know that. I think they're doing it on Ethereum. They're doing it on BNB because those are the largest distributions, certainly. But I don't know if people are doing it on Phantom. If they're doing it on Polygon, maybe. I don't know that they're doing it on Avalanche. So now I'm putting this together because the rewards are low. You don't really get much rewards off the staking. Nowhere close that I would expect to get. And I don't know what, I assume it's volume driven. And of course, volume's in the crapper. So you take this all together. You've got a volume, presumably volume-based distribution of rewards. Volume's in the crapper because their communication has tapered off and they're not building the strong utilities that got them to the dance. They got rid of the hyper burn, so your value is not being mitigated off the losses that we're seeing from the bear period. Then you got this V1 liquidity distribution, but oh, by the way, it's actually a game that requires people to engage, and they do it at a time where people are not awake in the United States who are most likely to do something like this. And it doesn't directly benefit you because you're spending money to do it in excess. It's actually somewhere close to, let's see, that's like $50, $60 to do it. So you're being asked to spend $60 of your money to benefit the community. Sure. The problem is that because of the 24-hour time, you're not getting the people most likely to be willing to do that stuff. So all of this together, plus this RiserBots crap, which I was really not happy to see. The cherry on top of this is that the V3 interfaces are garbage now. They have a memory leak as far as I can tell. So it completely freezes up Trust Wallet. I don't know what the hell's going on because I didn't do that before. The V2 interface is still running. The V2 interface is perfect code. You can access it. You have to access it directly by link because the other ones redirect you. But if you access it directly, it runs smooth. It's clean, nice font. It doesn't have the ugly garbage like the new one does. It's way faster by far and away. Sometimes I go back to it to do native coin swaps. And so when this issue happens, the way to trigger it is I go into the V3 and I switch network at the top of the wallet interface to a different network. It'll freeze Trust Wallet. I have to crash it. The only way around it is to go to V2, connect to whichever network while in V2, then hit the staking lab, which takes me to V3, and then do the work. I shouldn't have to do that. My guess, when I went to that RiserBots terrible interface, they've got a bunch of floating bubbles and almost cussed garbage on here that I think it's eating up memory that it doesn't need to, because you don't need to do that. You can do static images. There's no reason for all this. So now that they've added this code in places, it's disrupting all other parts of the V3 interface. So now, on top of all the other stuff I just talked about, the interface, I can't trust it, which has never been the case before. I've never had a situation where I could not trust the web interface for Everrise. So in closing, it's an outreach request from anybody that's still in the ecosystem. If you know something about the departure of Jen, I'd love to hear about it. If Jen hears this, I'd love to hear from you. The devs will not speak to me. They don't want smoke. That's cool. I'm asking for the community's feedback about what they know about what's going on and what appears to be the decline of a once very powerful, very solid project. If there's good information to help me understand why this, and let's say the riser bots does have a strong utility that I'm not aware of because they for whatever reason sucked at it, and I don't think it does. But let's say it does. Why that? Why not just have, like, literally, why not just take people's existing staked NFTs that we already had built and created and apply them to whichever marketplace as that same, if let's say the bots are there to secure the marketplace, and I don't think that's the case, but let's say it is. Why not just use people's existing staked NFTs that we already have been building and generating? Why not use people's OG NFTs? Why not use people's achievement NFTs? Why not use the NFTs we already have and simply apply them to that secure mechanism? I'll tell you why, is because they're not, the NFT doesn't mean a damn thing. They're going off collecting the money. I'd rather they be transparent about it, that they need extra money to be able to do that. Now, of course, the reason they don't is because it now gets very, very close to a Ponzi scheme. Because when you have the staked NFTs from the staking lab, you have to mint those. So you're putting money in to mint the NFTs, and you have to put some rise in there. So that's your money, right? And you have to put it in there, and it's locked until the duration of the period. You can't touch it. Okay. So what we're saying is the V1 liquidity, which was your money at one point, then we're redistributing that to other people, right? So we are taking that fund source and we're distributing it to new stakers. That's definition Ponzi at that point. Okay, I can let it slide in the situation where you are staking those, right? So if you staked it, so let's say the distribution goes to stakers, which it does. Okay, so that means that you have to contribute into it, all right? But now you got this RiserBots thing, which is a completely different set of a thing that has no connection to the main, but you're still having to put money in to secure something that can only benefit existing stake. Like, do you see what I'm saying? That the connections, the direct connections to things. If I look at EverOwn and EverLock, they're separate. They benefit each other, but they're separate. They're independent. EverMigrate is separate from the others. EverBridge is separate from the others. All of them together benefit, but they're separate. When we start getting into this NFT business, I'm seeing too many hard connections between things that raises some concerns, at least for this person. And again, I'd love to hear the story about how and why this strategy makes any damn sense, as opposed to using the existing NFT stakes that are already out there, existing achievement NFTs, OG NFTs, to achieve the same objective without benefiting or enriching new stakers in the process using existing money. I'm not trying to make direct accusations of any kind. I'm calling concerns I see of a project that otherwise, prior to this garbage, looked rock solid. It looked like it was unstoppable. And if it's true, and I don't know that it is, that the devs have left, what the hell does that mean? Who's in there now? What's going on there? Any insight, please do share it. Comments or cryptotalkradio.net. Hit the contact form. I'd love to hear from you to better understand it. But that's for the response. That's why I couldn't ethically keep them on the Fave 5. They're no longer Fave 5. I even forget that it's there sometimes. And it shouldn't be that way, because at one point it was unforgettable, in your face, with strong utilities outside the bubble. And now it feels like just another token that's destined for failure if they don't course correct.